Jonathan DFS Playbook live show here on the Better Sports Network and the Fantasy Alarm social channels. James, we are here recording live. We're live for a 9-game main slate here on Wednesday. It was 10 games. Just had the Yankees game postponed due to the smoke coming down from the Canadian wildfires there. Pretty wild scenes out on Twitter. An orange glow just filling New York City right now. So no Yankees, no White Sox on the slate, which is honestly kind of a game changer here, because if you looked at the value on tonight's slate here, a lot of people were looking to plug in Yankees starter. Was it Vlad Vasquez?
Randy Vasquez, yeah.
Yeah, Vasquez there at min price tonight. No longer on the board. So those who plugged him in at 4K need to find some additional salary now. So we're here to bring you the slate breakdown, give you all the news, all the lineup news, and everything you guys need to know about for the next hour. James, man, how are we doing today?
John, first and foremost, happy Wednesday. We are live, in fact. If you guys leave comments, we will react to them live. We are not recording.
Not recording. We're live. Live as can be.
Live as can be. But yeah, I mean, interesting slate. Now 9 games. 2 of the 3 most popular pitchers were in that game that was postponed. First, also, I'll say I hope everyone in Canada is staying safe from the wildfires, and I hope they are under control shortly and things are preserved and air quality gets better, because it is the apocalypse in the northeastern part of the world right now, specifically New York. But yeah, I mean, interesting slate. Not a lot of high quality pitching, and somebody, a few of them that are good pitchers, like Logan Webb pitches in cores, Max Scherzer gets the Atlanta Braves, Chris Bassett faces the Astros, not exactly the best spots for arguably the best pitchers on today's slate. So a very interesting slate on this Wednesday. Now, once 10 games, now 9.
Yep, 100% here. James, let's go head on over to Las Vegas. We'll take a look at the odds and game totals here for tonight's slate. What are we keying in on, sir?
All right. So, biggest favorite on the board remains Logan Webb, minus 210. That ballooned from minus 185. So a lot of people betting Giants money line, minus 210 on the road. They face Connor Seabold tonight in Coors. That should be, Colorado bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Throwing Connor Seabold out there. Jameson Taillon is a plus 125 underdog to Jaime Barria, minus 150 in the late night hammer. John Gray minus 140 on the money line. Corbin Burns, who is today's highest priced pitcher, has pretty much remained a minus 140 favorite on all the sports books. Open at minus 142. It's at minus 140 on DraftKings. The Milwaukee Brewers take on the Baltimore Orioles. Charlie Morton is favored. The Braves are favored over Max Scherzer and the New York Mets tonight. Noah Syndergaard actually favored on the road tonight. And that's primarily due to the Dodgers offense.
Yeah,
nothing to do with
Dodgers lineup thing, not a Noah Syndergaard thing.
The Reds throwing out rookie lefty Brandon Williamson. We know the Dodgers had struggles against lefties early in the year. That has not been the case much lately. Zach Davies, slight favorite over the Washington Nationals, minus 125. Then we head over to the totals, because this is where things, I think, get a little interesting, because we have a lot of runs, again, expected to be scored tonight. 9.5 in Arizona, Washington. That game is actually some places 10 on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's 10 on FanDuel. It's 9.5. So it opened at 9. Some places been bet up a full run. 9.5 implied runs in Houston, Toronto. 11 implied runs. Even I see one sportsbook with 11.5 for Dodgers Reds. 8 runs implied Boston Cleveland. That's the lowest total on the board. Maybe a bit more later today on today's show about pitching matchup in that game for Cutter Crawford. Max Scherzer and Charlie Morton, 2 good pitchers. We said that last night about the Mets Braves. 9.5 implied runs in that one. That's the Atlanta summer weather for us. 9 implied runs in St. Louis, Texas. 11 in Coors Field tonight and 9 in Chicago, LA. I mean, just 2 games under 9 implied
Yeah.
runs is a lot fewer than normal. We have two games that open at 7.5 are at 8. That is kind of where we stand. Looks like another slate of just runs, John, because we had them last night. It looks to be similar story again on Wednesday.
Yeah. Unlike yesterday, though, where we had no real weather concerns here, if you take a look around, we like to reference Kevin Roth over at RotoGrinders, his daily weather report that he puts out there, good stuff. He is a little concerned about this Colorado San Francisco game. Now, I'm on weather.com and looking at their hourly weather report for Denver. Does show isolated thunderstorms here this evening in that area. It's not a low percentage of rain, but they do say it's not necessarily the chance of rain. It's that it will rain in the area that it covers. So, isolated thunderstorms basically starting in the middle of the game and moving all the way through the evening here. Ross report here, and it'll get updated. Has it listed out here. More than likely a delay, and he's not ruling out a postponement. And that's a tough spot here. With that being a game that kicks off at 8:40, a lot of lineups are going to be locked at that point, and there won't be many pivot options for Rockies Giants if you're, going to try to leave them in your lineup here. So something to pay attention to here. All about your risk aversion. If you want to make a lineup and people are seeing that rain and reading that same report that we're reading, it could lower the expected rostership there in that game. But something to at least note where we haven't had much weather problems lately. That game is maybe teetering on the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with your analysis. Like, if you are someone who is playing cash games or someone who just doesn't, take a lot of risks in DFS, which there are plenty of people who are more cash game players than they are tournament players. Maybe it's not a game for you. I mean, you're not typically Logan Webb is probably in the cards today, but this also could be a scenario where, you're playing bats and fading arms because, if there is a lengthy delay and they play afterwards, that's only going to hurt the pitchers. That's not really going to hurt anyone on the offensive side of things. So it does definitely depend on risk aversion. If you're playing one lineup, it might be a thing you fade. If you're playing multiple lineups, it's definitely a thing you should toy with because let's face it, we talked about it last night, John. Nobody played the Giants really last night.
Nobody played them, yeah.
They were pretty low owned. Lamonte Wade at 18% was your highest roster Giant, and he had a big game. But if you play JD Davis or Thairo Estrada or Patrick Bailey had 3 extra base hits, you got them all at low ownership. If you're telling me that we're once again going to get low ownership for the Giants, who were at full strength on Wednesday or Tuesday rather, and they're going to be at full strength on Wednesday, might be worth, potentially losing some money because you're going to get them at low risk and then the game's canceled. And, that's a tough spot to be in, but worth the risk if that game isn't postponed.
Yep. And, before we kick everything off, just shout out to those of you in chat here, our guy Mark Pitts, Richard and JT in the chat as well. So happy you guys are in there watching us here today. If you guys have any questions, those are tuning in, get involved here. Type in the chat way. James and I are here to help you guys. We're going to go over the slate. We're going to build some lineups. So we're going to go everything that you guys are looking for here. So throw your questions in. We'll certainly get to them. Mark's starting it off. We're talking about pitching, so we'll just get to his question. How many Reds are going to be stealing on Noah Syndergaard here tonight? Again, we're looking at a guy in Syndergaard who's allowed the most stolen bases in baseball. 16 stolen bases allowed on the evening here. Richard replying, he said maybe 2 or 3. He likes Ellie and the short McLean there potentially for stolen bases. So we'll cover the infielders and the hitters there in a moment. But let's get to pitching. James, Corbin Burnes, I think we both agree, is our top pitcher on the slate. I loved Freddie Peralta last night. He came in almost as I expected him to do in the podcast. And then we saw the rostership numbers and he was higher. And I was like, that's kind of surprising. And then it came to the actual tournament and he was 15%, which is kind of where I kind of thought he would be in that area. Like Freddie Peralta, got 9 strikeouts last night. Got worn down a little bit, only pitched 5 innings, but Corbin Burnes tonight is your top price play. and I still believe in Baltimore here tonight. I mean, Milwaukee here tonight against Baltimore.
Yeah, and we've started to see an uptick in strikeouts from Burns since you mentioned the Peralta K's. Like 4 of his last 5 starts, he's had 7 or more, and that was the concern for Corbin Burns. Leading into the stretch, he had 1 game with more than 5 strikeouts. 1 in his first 7 starts. Like that's not Corbin Burns that we've gotten acclimated to in years past. This is a very good matchup against a team that's really struggled lately. They've had like good pieces like show up. Like Ryan O'Hearn has weirdly been good, and Aaron Hicks has weirdly been good for them. And Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson have been better when Gunner's been healthy. So I like Corbin Burns a lot. I think that he has been pretty safe outside of 1 start. His last 6 of 7, he's had at least 15 fantasy points. And I'm not saying I want 15 fantasy points out of a guy I'm spending $10,000 in,
Right, yeah.
but the strikeout upside has been there. The safety has been there because we're going to talk about it. There's not a lot of like safety at the pitcher's position today.
Yeah.
Like everybody has flaws based on matchups or based on recent performances. Like nothing on this slate screams like must play. Now, Corbin Burns is right now going to probably check in as the highest rostered pitcher. That still hasn't updated since we lost the Yankees White Sox game off today's slate, cut
Yeah.
it from 10 to 9. But he's probably going to be the most popular. Love the pitch count getting back into the hundreds. We didn't see that his first 7 starts of the year, and now we've seen it twice in a row and 3 times in his last 5. So the Brewers letting him go deeper into games. The strikeouts are coming. The positive results are coming. He is clearly number 1, and I think it's number 1 with a bullet because Logan Webb now has to deal with rain.
Yeah.
If you're just talking about guys at the top tier, Logan Webb has to deal with rain. You probably can't get to him unless you're max entering something. Max Scherzer, although he's been excellent, and I think you and I both like him.
Yep.
It's still not an easy spot. There's still
Atlanta.
Atlanta with a game total that for some reason went from 8.5 to 9.5, has been just bet up over and over. Chris Bassett can't get lefties out. There's 2 premier lefties specifically in Houston, and Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker on the other side of the game. And Charlie Morton, he's been really good. But he also has a couple blowups on his resume, and the Mets offense has a lot of thump. He's just gave up 6 runs a few starts ago. So he's not bulletproof. So this whole tier is kind of shaky. And that's why I think just for me, it's definitely Burns, and then we'll mix in the other guys.
Yeah, so for me, I think as well, if we're looking sort of at that next tier, tier 1A, 1B, however you want to break it down. You mentioned Charlie Morton. We're looking at some sample sizes here. The Mets over the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching, just a 290 WOBA, a 211 batting average for them. Just a 20% strikeout rate, though, so they're not really striking out a ton. And as you mentioned, if you look at, the Mets for the year, they're kind of, again, sort of hanging out there in the middle, not nearly as bad as they've been, but, they haven't really blown the doors off, but still a team that doesn't really strike out, 20% strikeout rate. The other guy, and I mentioned this on the podcast this morning, that I'm still kind of digging here is John Gray. St. Louis, again, a team that over the last 2 weeks, just recent sample size, 20th in WOBA against right-handed pitching, 294, a 211 batting average for them as well. Now, again, they're not a team that strikes out a ton, but they do have guys that are going through some slumps here. They brought back up Jordan Walker, been slow to go. I know he just recently homered, but a guy that's been able to get out. Wilson Contreras has been terrible here. Arenado's starting to heat up, and you got to deal with going through Paul Goldschmidt, but Gray's been really good this year and really good against some tough opponents. So, if I'm looking at like the core top guys that I'm looking to pitch today, Corbin Burns, Max Scherzer, Charlie Morton, and John Gray. Those are the 4 guys up over, the 9K-ish range for me tonight.
It's almost like those 4 and then maybe 2 more guys on the entire slate. You can probably make a case for a couple other guys. We lost 2 names that were going to be popular in Lance Lynn and Randy Vasquez.
I was never playing Lance Lynn, so that makes me sad that he was going to be popular tonight. So.
I wasn't, but like Lynn's struggles had been against lefties, and I know Rizzo exists in the world, but like the other lefties the Yankees have been throwing at teams is Jake Bowers and Willie Calhoun. Like those
Jake
are
Bowers, the god from the other
no, of
way.
course he double donged. I know, I understand. I'm not like it. It's been fine.
Sure.
Yay, happy for Jake Bowers. I'm so happy for him. And like obviously as a fan, like yeah, of course. But like no Judge. Stanton just coming back hasn't
Sure.
looked great. So like it wasn't the best
Sure.
team that. So I understood. I mean, you and I have targeted Lance Lynn every fifth day.
All the
That's
time.
been a thing.
All the time.
And shocker, he faced a good team the last time out and he got shelled.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, outside of this top tier, there ain't a lot. So I'm with you on basically those four guys. Not really going to Bassett because I'm scared of Jordan and Tucker. They also have Altuve back tonight, hitting second. They're also leading off Mauricio Dubois. They're playing both of them.
Good. Dubon didn't deserve to lose.
No, he didn't. He did not. He did not. But
Well,
yeah,
let's talk about the value guys that we like here. We were in on Vasquez until we weren't because he was 4K. You mentioned Jaime Barria there at 7K, and I'm kind of in on you. That was kind of where my pivot went to. After I had to obviously readjust a few lineups here, but Barria is where I'm at now for my core value play. Has been really good. Pitch counts on the rise, 90 pitches now in that last outing there. Limits damage has some okay strikeout potential. His last two starts, 6 strikeouts in 5 innings for both of those. So, if he gets a win, he gives you the 20 fantasy points like he did. I'm in there. So I do like him at home tonight against the Cubs.
Yeah, and there's been a few really positive signs for Berea. One, the pitch count right off the bat. Like we go from 64 pitches in a start against Boston to a 15 pitch outing in Miami where he allows 4 runs, no earned, but like just 2 like terrible stuff. Then he goes from next outing 5 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts again. And the Cubs don't hit anything right now. Like the Cubs were a very good offense that have now shifted back to this weirdly bad offense. They're 7th this year in terms of strikeout rate, 24.2%. They only have a 706 team OPS against right-handed pitching. Like that ranks 18th. They're not a good offense right now.
Mark doing the work for us here. Last 2 weeks, 29% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. That's only one of the bad numbers that they have because it is very bad. Last 2 weeks, they are dead last in WOBA, 250. They are dead last in ISO, 078. They are dead last in batting average, 180. They're not making any contact against right-handed pitching right now. They're in a pitcher's park in LA. And this could definitely be a ceiling game for Berea at 7K. And on the opposite side, the Angels going up against Tyon feels like a good matchup for the Angels here. So could have some win equity. Love that he got the 90 pitches because if he can be, I guess, a little bit more efficient than he was against the White Sox here against the Cubs, he could go 6 innings in this game. So Berea is my core value play tonight. The only other one I'd be willing to mention is Cutter Crawford, but I am a little worried about sort of the reporting around him. They talked about there could be some limitations because they haven't fully stretched him out. He just pitched a couple of days ago, as you pointed out here as well. That I do like Cutter Crawford as a pitcher. He was really good in 2 of his starts this year. They moved him more as like a long man, swing man after they took him out of the rotation. We know Cleveland's been susceptible, but for just $200 more, you just play Berea and move on. So that's where I'm at with pitching tonight.
I will say the one thing I hate watching Cutter Crawford pitch because he has that little like. Have you seen him throw? Yeah. It's very annoying to watch. That doesn't add anything to the conversation. I just wanted to point out that I hate this little thing that he does before he throws the baseball.
That's fair. Sometimes they got to distract hitters. No,
I know it's not. Oh my god, I would just ask my manager to not be in the lineup that night.
James, before we go and start breaking down the hitters position, let's take a look at the night's lineups. Anything sticking out to you here tonight of note? Anybody in, anybody out, anybody that's moved up or down the lineup that may be surprising to those today?
Willie Adames back batting second for Milwaukee tonight. They're also this lineup just came out.
Just now came out, yeah.
They are batting Mitchell fourth. Who is Mitchell?
Mitchell's back?
It can't be Garrett Mitchell. He's out for the year.
Yeah, not Garrett
I'm
Mitchell. And there is no Mitchell. That has to be a misprint, right? Because there's at least no Mitchell on the slate for us to play.
maybe they're calling
Could be,
up one of their top prospects
maybe,
potentially.
maybe.
We will that remains to be seen. We'll keep an update on the Brewers lineup, but um, you know, Singleton hitting fifth, another prime lineup
Yeah, 0
spot
for
for
4,
him.
0 for 4 last night, something like that. Just an absolute zero for them.
Absolute zero. I mentioned the Astros using Dubois and Altuve at the top of their lineup. Dubois leading off, Altuve hitting second. No Jeremy Pena. That's interesting. The Dodgers have a interesting lineup tonight. Betts, Freeman, Smith, Martinez, Muncy. That's fine. I think the top five of that lineup is fine. The back half of the lineup is where it gets interesting. Chris Taylor hitting sixth, Miguel Vargas seventh, DeLuca eighth. They just called him up. He is batting eighth. He's an outfielder. Johnny DeLuca hitting from the right side of the plate, 574 slug at AAA this year. So he gets called up, 14 home runs, 12 stolen bases at AAA this year, John. He gets the lefty matchup. And so he's hitting eighth. So that's an interesting addition for the Dodgers tonight. Anything else of note here? Kirilloff returned. He's back in the lineup. Trevor Larnack hitting fourth. He's back. Devers hitting fourth. Red Sox going with Cassis fifth again.
I
Dan
can't find
Vogelbach still
anybody
exists.
to tell me who Mitchell is yet. And in fact, somebody commented on the lineup with who the F is Mitchell question mark on their release lineup here tonight. So seems like nobody knows who.
Seems like that is either a typo.
Playing third base tonight.
Brewers.
I'm
Let's go
going
to
to
the
ESPN
Brewers.
here. Let's see if
Let's gotta go to the Brewers official page, see if they've released. No, it is Owen Miller.
Okay,
It is
so
Owen
they typed in
Miller
Mitchell and it's
hitting fourth.
problem
It is
solved.
supposed to
I'm
be
glad we
Owen.
wasted time trying to figure that out. I was like, Gary
Yes.
Mitchell's out for the year.
No, yeah, he is not coming
Did they
back.
trade
No.
for somebody? All right, glad we have all of that sorted out here. Let's go into catch a spot here again. We're not going to waste time talking about every player at this position, but we do want to talk about our top guys and some value options here. WD Smith right at the top, right? $5,500. We like the Dodgers. Lefty on the mound here. It's an all systems go. He did not pay it off last night for us. Sadly, if you spent up, you didn't get what you needed out of him here. But if we're looking to spend up tonight for top plays, I am going back to the WD.
Yeah, and he has been amazing against left-handed pitching this year. 323 ISO, 429 WOBA, and it's kind of just been consistent for the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years overall, 231 ISO, 385 WOBA for Smith against left-handed pitching. So he is by far the top option at this tier. I think you can get to Jonah Heim, even though there's more power from the right side. I think Jonah Heim's fine. He's been really good of late. You can obviously get to Sable if he's in the lineup. You can definitely get to Tyler Stevenson against Syndergaard. He had a really good game yesterday. 2 straight good games, 13 and 14 fantasy points in back-to-back.
Great for,
and
like way too cheap at $3,800.
way too cheap.
So
he's just been he's been a really good hitter that struggled this year, I would say, and is starting to find his stroke. And this is as good of a matchup as it's going to get. Righties hit Noah Syndergaard. Lefties hit Noah Syndergaard. It doesn't matter who Noah Syndergaard's facing. He's been hit hard. 347 WOBA allowed to righties. So get me Tyler Stevenson. Tyler Stevenson hasn't been good against righties this year, but he's just been a good hitter.
Yeah, this is again, like you mentioned, he's been a great hitter for most of his career. So just a down, last couple seasons, just a down season at the moment, but good spot for a bounce back. And what did I say? Getting Ellie in that lineup maybe changes the whole picture of that order. And then our top value play, Gabriel Moreno, right? Just absolutely hammering lefties this year. 396 average, 623 slug for Gabriel Moreno here. The man has 9 total extra base hits on the season, 8 of them against left-handed pitching here this season. So $2,900 for Gabriel Moreno is the top value play at the spot.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly. I just wish they would hit him a little higher. Let's just hit the guy.
Well, he doesn't really have the power thump, right? Like,
I know, but they hit him 7th against
I
righties,
know.
but he does all his damage against
I mean, who are
lefties.
you going to move down, right? Like, that's just where are you going to plug him that's going to bump somebody? That's the,
Pavin Smith, lefty, hitting 6th tonight.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You
eventually.
know?
They're waiting for Corbin to get knocked out, and then you got David Smith hitting 16th
Yeah.
already. First
Yeah.
base. Listen, Ohtani was the man on the cover, so we know where we're a fan of tonight in that matchup here at $6,100 as a top play here. Freeman's lefty hitting second. I know Freeman just hits everybody, so certainly can run back to that play if you want. But I didn't really like outside of Ohtani, which I ended up playing in the outfield for my lineup tonight. I didn't spend up for first base tonight.
No, you don't need to.
Don't.
I mean,
Right.
like you can play Freeman. He hit the grand slam off a lefty yesterday, so like you can get to him, and you can get to Ohtani. Don't love Olsen. Obviously, home run, one off, fine. Same thing with Goldschmidt, home run, one off, fine. Vladdy, nobody plays the Blue Jays. If you want to get him at low ownership, fine. But I have a lot of interest in Spencer Steer, 4,200 against Noah Syndergaard. That's primarily because I think you could play anyone against Noah Syndergaard. And then Christian Walker, I think, is a no brainer for all the power against Patrick Corbin.
Yeah.
Christian Walker just literally has like earth-shattering power against left-handed pitching. 396 ISO is over 115 points more than anyone else on his team. 419 WOBA, slightly behind Gabriel Moreno, by the way. So like gonna hit 4th. Patrick Corbin specifically been bad against right-handed bats. 354 WOBA allowed, 187 ISO. So I think Christian Walker 3,900 makes the most sense at the position. I think Arizona is one of the best stacks of the day. That's really where I've gravitated towards at first.
Yeah, I'm basically living in this tier. Walker, Wade, Meneses, I like as well. Washington again at $3,700. I think will fit into some interesting lineups here. Emmanuel Rivera also with Arizona has first and third eligibility. He's $3,100. Like that's just kind of where I am at tonight. This is the mid 3K range is where I'm playing my first baseman tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is interesting to see Lamonte Wade 3,900 as well. It's all going to depend on your risk aversion, as you mentioned. It's up top. Like if that game is something that you think rains out, or we get word that it's going to rain out, like you can't do it and you pivot elsewhere. But it is hard not to play the Diamondbacks or Lamonte Wade down here. Truthfully,
yeah, I'm with you there. Yair Diaz 2,900. He's been on fire lately.
Yeah, I would rather play him at catcher. I think we were losing a little bit of first base lust if we play him at first. So I would prefer to use him at catcher. Ryan O'Hearn's the last guy I'd mentioned. I know Corbin Burns is our top arm of the day, but he's been really good lately. And he's $2,300 hitting 7th if we wanted to go.
I'm with you there. All right, second baseman here. Again, we were all in on Estrada last night. Mookie Betts as well coming through. There could be some stolen base upside for Jonathan India tonight as well. He's already got 12 on the year and 4 over the last 10. As we mentioned here, this should be a game where, since he's running wild, Noah Syndergaard if they get on base tonight. So those are the top guys for me at second base.
Al, the only person I'd add is Ketel Marte, who I think just always goes kind of underlooked. Sure. And if you haven't guys noticed, I'm playing Arizona tonight. 229 ISO, 377 WOBA against left-handed pitching this year. And righties are doing all the damage against Patrick Corbin. So I like Estrada. I like Betts. I like India. I think they're all elite. Fortunately for us, we could play Mookie in the outfield, so we don't have to choose from all of them. But I do think Ketel Marte is the forgotten man of this team.
Yeah, that works for me. And then if we're going down to some value here, you could go with Luis Garcia hitting second. Davies is getting hammered by lefties on the season. Merrifield, as we know, also on a pretty good run there for Toronto. What's your value second baseman of the day?
They don't exactly exist. I would say Miguel Vargas for the power upside because that's what he does. He gets on base or he hits for power. I mean, for a guy with a 228 average, 333 OBP is a lot of walks, 28 walks in 58 games. So I'll go Miguel Vargas as my favorite value.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, a guy that just hits for a lot of power. If you try to look too deep into his numbers, you probably won't like what you're looking at there. But if you just focus on the power,
Yeah, it's
then he
power.
does offer that cheap home run at $3,000 here on tonight's slate. Getting on over to the third base position here. Again, a spot where like if you want to spend up, you can, but I don't see myself going there. What's your favorite third baseman tonight, man?
JD Davis is probably the first name that I would get to. I think he's been awesome against right-handed pitching. I mean, he has been awesome against right-handed pitching, I should say. Uh, had a very good night last night. 3 RBIs, a double, 3 RBIs. Was on base twice, and that's largely been the guy all year long. I mean, 34 RBIs, one of the team leaders there, 1,000 OPS over his last 10 games. And Connor Siebold hasn't gotten many people out this year. I know his last start, he was good, but he now has to navigate Coors Field. JD Davis hitting near the top of the lineup. I mean, 203 ISO, 372 WOBA this year for JD
Yeah.
Davis. Against Siebold, right-handers this year, 370 WOBA, 228 ISO. My chart is so red. Holy cow. 37% fly ball rate, 46% hard hit rate, 14% strikeout rate. We don't really have to worry about the strikeouts. If this game doesn't rain out, JD Davis is clearing away my favorite third.
I was surprised to see him down there at just like 8% last night in my lineup. More than happy to get there. It took a little bit for him to get there, but he did eventually get there, and the Giants scored 10 runs. At 4K, Jeimer Candelario, again, I like Washington here tonight against Zach Davis. Candelario is a switch hitter on the season this year. Lefties are hitting 375 with a 475 slug off of Zach Davies, and Candelario, all 7 of his homers against righties this year, a 520 slugging percentage for him on the year. And if you go and go look at the recent numbers against right-handed pitching the last 2 weeks, Washington's right up there with the best of them. 6th in WOBA. They have a 182 ISO against right-handed pitching here. So really starting to do some damage against righties from the power perspective. So those are the guys up over 4K for us. When it comes to the value, we were just kind of surprised to see Evan Longoria under $3,000. There's again, guys homered in 3 of the last 5 games. Ridiculous power numbers against left-handed pitching this year. I get it. He's hitting 185 over the last 10. 4 of his 5 hits have gone out of the yard, and he's got Patrick Corbin. If there's ever a time to turn it around, it's right now. And there's a pretty large BVP sample size for him as well.
Ice through, yes, third base discussing because Evan Longoria is one of our favorite options. That is for sure. To your point about the power too, I'll just sprinkle in that 5th hit too was a double. His last 5 hits have been 4 home runs and a double. It's a nothing but extra base hits. But this year, 58 at-bat sample or plate appearance sample, 283 ISO against lefties. That's 2nd on the team, 376 WOBA. And we mentioned Emmanuel Rivera at first base, but might as well just mention 360 WOBA against left-handed pitching this year as well for Rivera. And Rivera hitting 3rd, Longoria hitting 5th. Literally like prime real estate for either of those two guys.
If Longoria only faced lefties this year, he's hitting 283 with a 566 slug and a 911 OPS. It would look a lot more appealing when you click on his player card, but instead they do play him against righties, where he's hitting a robust 130 against on the year. So his batting average is down to 216 here, but a lot of power. So I'm in on Longoria as the value. I got nothing else down here at third base.
The only other thing I would mention is I want to get as many lefties against Jameson Taillon as possible. Luis Rengifo, second base, third base eligible. He's been better of late. I'm not saying like I'd rather play the other 2 values, but he's $2,300 multi-position eligible. They're bad positions, 2nd and 3rd. Taillon has just been that's why Shohei was the cover of the show. I mean, lefties have dominated Taillon. So I don't hate the idea of getting to Rengifo if you need to save just a couple $100, and if you want to just jam lefties into that lineup.
I'm with you there. Let's go on over to shortstop here. Talk to me again. Well, this is a little bit of a loaded position. I certainly have some favorites. Loving Corey Seager here at $5,900, right up there at the top. I think Bichette against Blanco, you can get there because, again, no one's probably going to play Toronto like they never do. So I'm fine if looking to spend up on those two options here tonight.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I want to see what our ownership is for Texas in general because they are, if not the best offense in baseball, second, right? I mean, behind it's Tampa and it's Texas, probably 1, 2, and whatever. Or I mean, statistically, Tampa still leads in pretty much every category. Nobody's playing Texas, and I understand. I'm like just looking at this. Everyone's just playing San Francisco and the Dodgers, which understandably so. Like I get it; they're in great spots, two best
Yeah.
ballparks in the league. Um, but it's not like Jack Flaherty has been this dominant guy. Lefties have a 371 WOBA against him. Just a 20% strikeout rate against lefties. Now, the ground balls are very annoying. 45% ground ball rate against lefties, 50% ground ball rate against righties. Like that's so annoying to face and not like something I really want to like full stack against. But Corey Seager 276, ISO 425 WOBA against left-handed pitch or right-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
No one's playing Texas. So like I could definitely see myself getting to Seager, definitely see myself getting to Bichette. But I think Matt McLean for me would probably
Okay.
be my top guy. Continues to hit another 3 hits, now 3 multi-hit games over his last 4. He does have a little speed. There is a little power. He's not just like single, like, kind of like things lead you to believe. Does have a 500 slug on the year. And again, righties have been just as good against
My
Noah
only
Syndergaard as
problem with
lefties have.
McLean
So,
is that Ellie's there and he's in the same position. So it's if I'm gonna spend up
right.
if I'm gonna spend up on a shortstop, it's probably Seager or Bichette for me because otherwise I'm just playing Ellie De La Cruz at $2,700. The Ellie De La Awesome show should continue tonight against Noah Syndergaard.
I don't
I guess you could be very
that's not
contrarian
I
though
don't
going
dispute
McLean
that.
because more people are gonna go Ellie, I would imagine.
Right. And I'm not disputing that at all. Um but it is like a thing. If you're playing 3 lineups, I know how
Yeah.
easy it is to just plug a $2,700 top prospect into your lineup is. Like, sure. He's also the highest projected position player on tonight's slate after the update that I just received. It's Ellie De La Cruz and then just Giants and Dodgers, like throughout the whole list. Nobody's playing Matt McLean. Well, at least I shouldn't say nobody. He's the third. He's actually so the 2 highest projected shortstops today, John, are Ellie De La Cruz and basically Matt McLean because Casey Schmidt's in there, but you can also play Casey Schmidt at
Sure.
second base. So like
Yeah.
you have both of them. I mean, like that. I think the masses are thinking kind of what you just said. Like, yeah, Ellie
We are
De La
getting
Cruz
maybe
is
some
the better
relevant line
play.
news to that game. Jake Fraley's been scratched tonight with a wrist. Yeah, wrist
Again,
injury this time. So
second. Yikes!
we'll see what's gonna happen there. And then
Does Ellie lead
Ellie,
off?
no, they got India will lead off,
Would
I
he
bet.
lead? Yeah,
Yeah.
or Kevin
Oh
Newman.
yeah, they go
They'll go back to the
Kevin
Kevin
Newman. And I
Newman.
guess while we're on breaking news here, the Suns are going to waive Chris Paul. So yeah, and I don't know what's going
I
on with
did
the
see
Suns
that.
here, but that's fine. Trade for Kevin Durant and get rid of your point guard. Anyways, we're back to baseball here. We do a basketball show during the months of October to February, so or April.
I did the
You did.
NBA
And you can
DFS
get access to
Showdown
the
playbook today
NBA DFS
over on
Showdown playbook
Fantasy.com.
along with the MLB DFS playbook by Justin Vreeland today. We need to sign up below, fantasy.com/all-pro. Promo code MLB50 gets you 50% off the first 6 months. There you go. Good tie into everything that we got going on here. We'll wait for the updated Reds lineup. We'll see who's going to be leading off again. Benson is leading off tonight.
Ooh,
So we'll talk about some value
okay.
outfielders in a moment.
Okay.
Here for everybody that's going on. Any other shortstops then? Obviously, Ellie is the very obvious play here, but it's not everybody's looking to play the chalk. So if we're looking to be contrarian, what's your shortstop call?
I mean, Casey Schmidt is in the lineup. We just got the Giants lineup tonight. He's hitting 8th. He is the second highest rostered, technically, shortstop of the day. He's been pretty good this year. He has definitely struggled lately. No doubt he has struggled lately. but like has been good largely this year. I know he's been better against lefties now looking at numbers, but Connor Siebel has been so dreadful against right-handed pitching or right-handed batters this year. So I'll go Casey Schmidt as my other option. You can play CJ Abrams if you want it to be different. But like to your point, any of this other value is just kind of meh, right? Because you have De La Cruz hitting fourth against maybe one of the worst pitchers on the slate.
Yeah, I'm largely in agreement with you there as well. Let's see here. Let's go on over to outfield. I know we got some of your comments there. You want to spend a little more time on outfield today? Plenty of time to talk about outfield. We got 10 games, plenty of outfielders to kind of work our way through here, especially trying to find some of that value. As we just mentioned, Benson now leading off for the Reds. We always like to talk about finding that like cheap value play here. $2,300 now moved up to the leadoff spot here tonight. We'll have to see who entered that lineup because he was in the lineup initially hitting seventh. So if you get an updated lineup there, let me know who is now in there, James.
We got Hopkins playing left field. TJ
Hopkins now.
TJ Hopkins.
Min price TJ Hopkins. So we have two outfielders under 3K in Cincinnati in the lineup here tonight. But Benson now moved to the leadoff spot.
Three outfielders because they have Fairchild, Benson, and Hopkins.
Right. So Benson's kind of an interesting guy here. Obviously, super small sample sizes for him, but last 10 games, he's 7 for 22, 3 stolen bases, and he's leading off. And Noah Syndergaard's on the mound. So Will Benson finds his way to first. He could find himself soon to second on tonight's slate. So $2,300 cheap stolen base could be something to take a little peek on. Let's move back up to the top, though. A lot of big names here. We already mentioned we liked Ohtani. We had kind of skimmed by the idea of Bassett because of his struggles against lefties here. Jordan and Tucker are 51 and 59. Any interest there in the Houston duo?
Sure. Obviously, if we're choosing between them, Jordan is the better option if you can afford him. Tucker is definitely not a bad, second fiddle. But against right-handed pitching this year, 286 average or 286 ISO, 397 WOBA for Jordan Alvarez. And you just talked about it. Chris Bassett against lefty. Nothing going for righties. Like, good luck. Get back to the bench pretty much for right-handed bats. 202 WOBA, 089 isolated power. Not for lefties. 369 WOBA, 279 ISO, 45% fly ball rate. K rate is fine on both sides. Doesn't get ground balls. Has a lot of hard contact against him. So yeah, I would definitely play Jordan. Maybe as a one-off. Probably more so as a one-off or a package deal with Kyle Tucker because I don't really want to use righties. I don't really like the idea of stacking Houston. You can if you want. Not my favorite thing. I'll go with Jordan for sure in tournaments. One of my favorite plays.
Yep, 100%. Mark in chat asking us here, which do we like for a cheap outfield option between Pavin Smith or McCarthy for the D-backs? Well, I like Corbin Carroll. I know that much at $5,500. But if you're looking at the other D-backs outfield, I lean McCarthy just because, that stolen base potential for him is ridiculous. Another multi-stolen base game yesterday. And he's had a little pop. Pavin Smith's got more power, maybe, but I think McCarthy's upside is better, and you get the wraparound play there.
Dude, Pavin Smith has a 0 ISO against lefties. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know why they ice Lourdes Gurriel out so much against lefties. Like they're prefer to pat 2 lefty outfielders, 3 technically, because you have Corbin Carroll in the lineup tonight. McCarthy actually has, and it is a small sample, but in his small sample, 227 ISO, 354 WOBA against left-handed bats. He just has infinitely more stolen base potential too. So like
he's got 10 stolen bases in the last 10 games. So he's just absurd. Listen, if he didn't get sent down, he'd probably be the leader in stolen bases.
He might.
Here. So I like that he's hitting ninth. Again, I don't think Patrick Corbin's long for this game, so I would go McCarthy over Pavin Smith here tonight.
Agreed.
All right, other guys in this upper tier. We mentioned Tucker. We mentioned Carroll. We've talked about the Dodgers outfielders in bets. It's not a righty on the mound. It is a lefty, but we're still in on JD Martinez here, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has been like good in every aspect against righties. Against lefties, it's really strictly been about power. 205 ISO for JD Martinez, which is actually, he has a 290 WOBA against left-handed pitching. But if he hits a home run, that does not. I don't care if he goes 1 for 4. If he hits a 3-run bomb in the first inning, like, okay, yeah, another 18 fantasy points from JD Martinez. Great. Righties have been the thorn in Brandon Williamson's side this year. 197 ISO allowed, 325 WOBA, 41% fly ball rate, 45% hard hit rate. That's just not going to cut it in Great American. Like, you cannot allow that many fly balls in Great American. And you cannot allow that many fly balls to a team with the top 7 in their lineup all have ISOs of 189 or better against lefties. All of them. The top 5 of the top 6 have an ISO of 268 or better.
Right.
4 of them over 320. Like, remember when the Dodgers didn't hit lefties early in the year?
Yeah.
Like, all power all the time for the Dodgers.
Power, but they had like a 30% strikeout rate.
Well, it's still just regardless of like they have a 796 team OPS now, John, against lefties. That has obviously like vastly changed. At 6th in the league.
Last 2 weeks against left-handed pitching here, they have a 361 ISO, an 1100 OPS, a 459.
That's insane.
459 WOBA. They have a 12% strikeout rate against lefties and a 13% walk rate. So they have a higher walk rate than strikeout rate against left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. We were already playing Dodgers. It's not changing. None of this information is changing the fact. It's just sort of reiterating that, like, find a way to get some Dodgers in your lineup here tonight because they're going to probably go off like they did last night.
Correct.
In these spots for sure.
I got nothing to add. I
didn't mean to lay the hammer down, but that was
right.
kind of the hammer.
Dude, you got when you're going over 300 team ISO, like not like singular players, like team. That is, I want people to understand, like that is not something to take lightly. That is insane.
Yeah. Other guys down in this range. I mentioned I like the Nationals here tonight. Okay. Lane Thomas homered last night. Again,
and stole a base. Stole a base.
He's $4,400. Again, I'm in. They've been hammering right-handed pitching all season long now. Last couple of weeks, really starting to turn it on with some power. So I'm not a Davies guy here. So I do like Lane Thomas. We've talked about San Francisco.
They have five outfielders tonight in their lineup.
San Francisco does?
Yes. From 4,300 to 3,700. Conforto hitting 4th. Yastrzemski hitting 6th, Sable hitting 7th, Jock hitting 3rd, Henniger hitting 5th. 5 outfield options. All of them in play.
4,300 and under. All very easy to get into lineup. Very doable here tonight for sure. Again, kind of moving down into this value range. What are some of the names that stick out to you, man?
How do you have 5 outfielders? 5.
Multi-position eligibility, and
only one of them though. There's only one of them with multi-position.
Well, the problem is they gave DH, right? So like, I don't want to say they need a utility spot in DraftKings, so they give it to you on FanDuel, but they have to do something for these spots where like these teams are now DHing a player. You got to make him Ohtani, give him out.
Ohtani, Ohtani eligibility, I don't have like a ton of guys that I love down here. I think the Will Benson thing is obviously very appealing. So looking through Will Benson, prior to his call-up, he had a 196 ISO at AAA. He had a 406 OBP, John, which I think is very significant because he's leading off tonight. Yeah. And that's primarily due to a 24% walk rate at AAA this year. Was only hitting 206. But 11 stolen bases at AAA this year. Last year at AAA, 16 stolen bases. So this is a guy who can run. So we're talking about Noah Syndergaard constantly about stolen base, who's stealing. Will Benson. No,
Yeah.
look no further than their new leadoff hitter who walks a lot and is hitting for a little power. He had 17 AAA home runs in 2022 for the Guardians. So I think the Will Benson thing is incredibly interesting and a discussion that we should probably take into our lineups. Who else did I just see? Aaron Hicks hitting fifth against. If you're not playing Corbin Burns, it will be a contrarian thing. But him and Ryan O'Hearn, both $2,500 or cheaper
Yeah.
in the Baltimore lineup, both like playing really well. Like they're now are they my favorite plays? No, but they're both playing very well. And then there's two Angels. I don't know if Mickey Moniak is like ever gonna play again because Taylor Ward has been pretty good, and he's my other guy that I'd like to mention because Taylor Ward has been really good lately, riding an 8-game hitting streak. He's $3,200, 3 home runs in his last 10 games. So whoever between Moniak or Taylor Ward were in the lineup intrigues me. I would prefer it to be Moniak because he hits from the left side, and that's what's given Tyone so many issues, left-handed bats. But like Taylor Ward was kind of an elite player last year when he was healthy.
Sure.
And I know the first half of the year and the second half of the year were different. Like he was amazing. He was as good as Trout and Ohtani to start the year, and then things like obviously cooled off. But he started again, 7-game hit streak, 3 home runs over this span, 3 multi-hit games. They've been leading him off again. If he's going to lead off, $3,200. I kind of like.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and we kind of agree on the value plays that are down here. I think Benson's now going to have to pop into being one of the more, if not maybe one of the most popular value plays on the entire slate now, leading off at $2,300. I like Corey Dickerson, as I mentioned, Davies here against lefties against Davies. 375, 475 slug, 919 OPS. And you got Dickerson hitting fifth here tonight at $2,500. So I do like that getting in lineups there as well. Chris Taylor, we didn't talk about him as we mentioned all Dodgers guy that hits for power, only hits against lefties, $2,800 there also. So some guys we can find down here under 3K to build into some lineups here. James, let's get to our Grande's Gems and Impemba imprints portion of the evening. Why don't we go through, give everybody your home run call for the evening?
Yeah, so my Grande's Gems, I'm going to go with Shohei Ohtani as my home run call. He was the cover of the show. He homered yesterday. There's been a lot of power. Look, Jameson Taillon is not the same guy as he was for the Yankees, and he has started off this season incredibly poor against left-handed bats, specifically righties. Haven't given him many issues. Lefties have 413 WOBA, 284 ISO allowed, a 47% fly ball rate, a 43% hard hit rate against left-handed bats. That's why I've been so adamant about just kind of jamming lefties in my lineup.
Sure.
Like, I hope Matt Tice makes the lineup.
I played him last night.
Hope
$2,500 catcher, really good value play tonight if you're looking to save some money. When I had to make those pivots from Vasquez, I had Will Smith, and then in some lineups where I needed to make the move, I just went right down to Tice at 25 or Moreno at $2,800. I like both of those guys as value catchers here on the slate for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think, like, I know Jared Walsh has been bad, but like maybe Jared Walsh cracks the lineup, right? He's still literally min salary. Like, that's how bad lefties have been, or that's how bad Taillon has been against lefties. So I'm gonna go with Shohei Ohtani as my home run call. My top stack, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers. I think the proof is in the pudding, as Floyd Mayweather once said. Every 318, 311 ISO or whatever you said, over 300 ISO over the last 2 weeks.
360 ISO.
I mean, that's just like people need to understand that is not normal, right? That is not normal. So Dodgers, my contrarian stack, I like Arizona a lot. I don't understand why they're batting Pavin Smith 6 and not Lourdes Gurriel in the world that we live in, but they're really cheap. If you wanted to get to the Arizona, other than Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll, everybody is like $3,900 or less, including a catcher with a 423 WOBA against left-handed pitching. So I'll go Arizona as my contrarian stack tonight. My star of the night, I mean, it's hard for me not to go back to Shohei Ohtani. I think that there's double dong upside. Like, I know I just said he's my home run call. I truly think that he could leave the yard. He's facing a guy with almost a 50% fly ball rate. And if there is a place in Angels Park that is smaller than others, it's that right field. I know the wall is bigger, but right field is a short
Sure.
porch. Ohtani has left the yard a lot over there. We've even seen like Trout a lot of the time go Oppo Taco. And my value play, I mean, how do we just not go Ellie De La Cruz here? But I will say, honorable mention, things have obviously changed to Will Benson, who is now just thrusted into the leadoff spot for the Cincinnati Reds, a guy that has a long track record of stolen bases in the minor leagues.
DFS player 7 in chat asking if we're going McCarthy or Dickerson. I would lean McCarthy in those two for the stolen base potential. But if you're not playing Benson, I'm playing Benson over both of those guys. So get Benson in your lineup over Dickerson and McCarthy if you're not there yet. For me here, home run call is going to be Jordan. My top stack tonight. I'm with you on the Dodgers. I think a contrarian top stack is going to be the Blue Jays here because once again, nobody's playing the Blue Jays. Righties against Blanco this year has been primary reliever. 419 batting average, 605 slugging, 1,000 OPS. Righties against Blanco here. So contrarian Blanco, Blue Jay stack here. My value stack, I'm going to go with the Nationals there. Start of the night, we'll still go with the Jordan. My value is going to be Benson as well. James, we got a couple of minutes left. Let's build a lineup from the people. Corbin Burns, I assume we're plugging?
Yeah, let's plug.
And value play Berea.
Yeah, for
all right,
sure.
Catcher, Gabriel Moreno.
Yes, sir.
We're going to plug in Benson, obviously. The outfield.
And Ellie. And Ellie. Yeah.
All right, we want Mookie, I would assume. Or Ohtani as well.
Yeah, we're going to have to make some decisions here because Ohtani we can use at first if we wanted. You want Jordan. Third base is pretty easy. We usually use one of the Diamondbacks, probably downs, or Chris Taylor.
I like Longoria there. First base, I did say I like Jordan here at 59. So we got 4,300 for first baseman.
Well, I mean, it's Lamonte Wade. The problem is, like, we're fading Giants, and that's obviously an issue.
Well, we do worry about cores. We worry a little bit about weather.
Okay. So, Christian?
Mark in chat here, Belt hitting $2,500 cleanup. The only different issue is that it's the righties doing damage for Toronto against Blanco. Lefties on the year against Blanco, 167 batting average, just a 200 slugging percentage. Again, he was a reliever, so super small sample sizes here. And now as a starter, but 5 for 30 on the year against Blanco, left-handed hitters. Righties, again, just absolutely smashing him. So, could go there. So if we're fading cores, we're doing a fade cores lineup because there is weather concerns here. I think this is what we can come up with using Christian Walker at first base. Gives us Gabriel Moreno, gives us Evan Longoria, a little bit of a stack there. We have Ellie De La Cruz and Benson there for Cincinnati. We have Ohtani, we have Jordan, and we have Betts as a one-off Dodger. We could obviously pivot down, get JD Martinez, or we can move some things around and get Freddie Freeman in the lineup there as well. Guys, we're going to be in the Discord up until roster lock. So if you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Line family, you see the scroll down below. Go to fantasyline.com/allpro. Sign up with promo code MLB50. You'll save 50% off the first 6 months. That's $19.98 a month for the first 6 months. You get access to everything we do on site, not just MLB DFS, but NBA DFS. James Grande did that playbook out there for tonight's NBA Finals game. NHL DFS, PGA, the RBC Canadian Opens this week. The U.S. Opens next week. The playbook's out for that as well. You get access to our premium Discord chats. Everything's included, and the NFL Draft Guide's coming out. If you sign up now, that's going to be included in your monthly package. You're just going to get access to our NFL Draft Guide for the fantasy football season. So sign up today. Get involved in what we're doing. James and I will be back live tomorrow for the 5 o'clock slate. We'll have a podcast out for the afternoon slate. We got a little day baseball for everybody on Thursday. We'll talk to you all then. Good luck tonight.